Hello guys, and welcome to the last part of my tutorial on how to create an inventory system for the Blender game engine. In this final part, what we are going to do is that we are going to add an save and load function for our inventory system, and the basis for this save and load system will be the global dictionary. Okay, as you know, we have stored all the needed keys for our games in the global dictionary, which is a special dictionary that Blender offers, and it's a very flexible system to use for a save and load routine. Okay, if we check our script and specifically the init script, we can see here line 52 the logic save global dict command here. What this command does is that it saves at the same directory, in the same directory with our Blender file, the tutorial inv.blend, a file with exactly the same name, but with the extension bgconf. And let's check. Here is our Blender file, the folder that contains our Blender file, the tutorial inv file, and this one here is the tutorial inv bgconf file. Okay, this file is a text file and it contains all the keys and their values from the global dictionary. So if I open this file, okay, it's not very clear, but you can see. Let me open it with another editor, with this editor. Okay, you see that all the keys and their values are stored in this file, so it's like an automated save routine. But we will move some step. We will move some more, and we will create primitive save and load routine, but it will be something more advanced than this simple command. And the first thing I'm going to do is that here I have this function, the import database import function, and I have this logic save global dict command inside this function. And the result is that every time I call the db import function, I save the global disk in my disk, and I don't want this to happen every time we call this function. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to take the line from here and I'm going to copy it here. Okay, so the global dictionary, and furthermore I'm going to move the initiate var line from here to there, just before the save global dict command. And why I'm doing this? Because the initiate vars function, it also creates some new keys for my database. So I want to save the global dictionary in my disk after all the keys needed for my game are created. Okay, having done this, if we press P, okay, when the game loads, it creates this file, and you can see that if I delete this file, okay, it does not exist. If I press P and escape and check again, you see that the file is created. And what I need to do is that I have to check for the existence of this file, and because I don't want each time I launch the game to create this file, because if the file already exists, all I have to do is to load it from the disk into Blender. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some code to check whether the bgconfig file exists or no. If the file exists, then I'm going to load it directly, and if it does not exist, I'm going to create it using this part of code. And what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to import a new module, the OS module, which contains some of operating system functions like checking if a file exists or removing a file and things like that. And I'm going to put here an if command where I'm going to check if the file, the bgconfig file exists. So if not the bgconfig file exists, and here I have to specify which file exactly. So I'm going to use the logic.expand path command here. Okay, this part of code gives me the current folder where my Blender file is placed, and I'm going to add the name of the Blender of the bgconfig file, which will be tutorial inv.bg conf. Okay, first of all we're going to check for this, and if it does not exist, we are going to load the databases from the disk. We are going to create the global dictionary, and then we are going to load to set all the variables needed for the game, and then we are going to save the global dictionary into the disks, into this file here. So if the file does not exist, we are going to create it from scratch. But if it exists, we are going just to load it from the disk. Okay, I'm saving, and first of all let's check if our code works as it is supposed to work. So I'm going to add a print file does not exists, and I'm going to add another file exists, print file exists here. Okay, to check whether my code works as supposed. Now here I have the tutorial inv.bg config file, and this means that when I press P, the code will check that the bg config file exists, and it won't execute this piece of code. It will execute here this one. So I expect to see file exists printed on my system console window. So press P and escape, and there has to be a problem because main line 5 let's see what went wrong. Sorry for this, but yes, I had here something forgotten, probably here. If OS path exists, let's see again. No, the same problem probably. And I'm sorry for the inconvenience, but as you know, with programming we are all prone to making mistakes. The problem is here. I have probably forgotten to add something, and the problem is that I don't need here this bracket and sp and okay. So let's check our console, and we see file exists. So okay, this part of code was launched here because my file exists. But if I delete the file, and press P again and check my console. Here we have file does not exist, so this piece of code is executed and my file will be created from scratch, and we see here that the file was created again. So let's delete the print commands, we don't need them. And furthermore, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, or yes, I'm going to take this this key from here, the setting of the key from here, and I'm going to place it here, and I'm going to explain later because in our save system, whenever we save while we're in the inventory system, there might be a problem with the overlaying scene of the inventory. So just to be sure, I'm setting the inventory screen to be off before loading the global dict, and no, that's not correct. After loading the global dict, I want my inventory screen to be always off. And having done this, we are going now to create the save and load system. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create two methods of save. One will be the autosave method, and what will this do? It's going every time the character makes an action, and specifically whenever the character picks an object, or whenever the character equips an object, or whenever the character drops an item on the ground, the engine is going to save the current the global dictionary in the disk. So this creates an autosave system because first we are going to change the values of the keys in our global dictionary, and then we are going to save them in the disk. And let's do this for all the cases I described before. And first will be whenever we pick up items from the ground, and this is controlled from this part of code in the main script. Here we check whenever an object is pickable, we execute the according code, and then in the end what I'm going to do is that I'm going to logic save global dict. Okay, so we make all the changes in the keys in our global dictionary, and after I'm finished, after I finish, I'm saving the global dictionary in the disk. So every time I pick up an object from the ground, there will be an autosave routine that is going to save to the disk the global dictionary after the changes have been applied. And the other case is whenever I equip a weapon. Okay, I remind you that in order to equip a weapon, we pick up it from the ground, and I see that okay, and then we press left click to equip it. Okay, you see that it is equipped whenever I left click. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to the inventory script, and here is the part of code which sorry, yes, this is the part of code which controls the equipping and unequipping of the objects. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a logic.global dict command here, and every time I equip an object or I unequip it, and the global dictionary will be written on the disk to update my autosave system. And the other case is whenever I drop items on the ground, which is controlled in the spawn dropped items script. Local logic save global dict. Okay, inventory logic save global dict. Okay, so we added the logic save global dict in 3 places. Okay, in the main script here after picking an item, in the inventory screen here after left clicking on an inventory slot, and third in the spawn dropped items here after dropping an item on the ground. So let's see if this works. Okay, press P. We can see that it already works, because if you remember I had picked the bow from the ground, and now that I launch my game we see that the bow isn't on the ground, because the autosave system has worked. Okay, if I pick up other items too, and for some reason I can, okay, check the inventory. Okay, you see that the items are here, and let's equip the axe. Press escape and press P, and you see that everything works except for the equip. And I'm going to check why this happens. For some reason it does not. Okay, maybe I have put on a wrong. Okay, perhaps I should put it not here, not in the inventory, but in the weapon spawn object, and let's see where I have my file here, and here in my file, this is the original file I had created before this tutorial. I can see that I have added save global dict here. I have added in the inventory, I have added here, and here it works, and it's strange. Yes, here it works. Let me see what's the wrong here, what's the mistake, and probably let's check here. Press P. It does not. Let's check the console. No, not even here. Okay, yes, the thing is that in the inventory, and here is logic save global dict, and let's check again. P, I equip, and then escape and P. Okay, yes, probably I had written something wrong here, but now you see that it works. And if I delete this file here and restart the game, we see that everything is as we had it in the beginning. So pick up items, and okay, and press P. Okay, so everything works fine. This line here, I'm going to have it again reset, because I want it to be reset. Okay, so what I did here is that I kept the GD inventory of line here. If you remember, I had it moved from here to there to check the cases whenever whenever I load the global dictionary, the cases where the GD inventory will be on, because I want my inventory to be turned off whenever I start the game. But the problem that this created is that if this part of code is executed and this line here does not exist, it won't be able to detect or probably let me add it here to be more correct. Okay, now it's correct. So we have the GD inventory of here at in the initiate vars function, which is the correct. And furthermore, we set it here again because if the load global dictionary loads an on value for the inventory, the game will crash. And of course you can fix it, but for now I'm not going to do something more for this tutorial. The thing is that everything works as expected. You can drop items on the ground too and check if it works. Okay, you see that the dropped items are on the ground. One thing is that the character's position is not updated. Okay, if I press P, you see that the character's position is reset, and this happens because I haven't set a key or keys in my global dictionary that will control the character's position. But I'm not going to add this function. That will be an exercise for practice for you. So all you have to do is just add a global dictionary key that will be updated each time you move the character, and this global dictionary key, or better keys, you need 3 keys to control the X, Y and Z values of the position of your character. So I think it will be easy for you to create if you have understood this tutorial. And what we are going to do now is that we are going to create a new scene. Okay, here this scene, and this will have our menu, the main menu. Okay, when we launch the game, the first screen we are going to see is the options menu, and let's create a camera and let's move it here. And what this screen it will display some options, the options to play a new game, to continue the previous game, and to load an already saved game, and to quit the game. So let's create this simple scene. First of all, I'm going to create a plane, enter the edit mode, and let's do it with the screencast keys enabled, so you may see the shortcuts. Okay, so press Shift A to create a plane, enter the edit mode, and edit the plane. Okay, to create something like a key. And this one I'm going to name it new, and I'm going to add a property named menu item. Okay, and I'm going to add place the cursor here where my button will be, and I'm going to add a text object, and let's name it new. Okay, and let's get enter edit mode and make this larger to cover the new text, and let's change the color of the new text. And if I go here and create a new material and change the color to, let's say, this red here, and let's change the display to GLSL and enter texture shading. If I press P, okay, you see that the color has not changed, and the problem is that in order to change the color of the text object, you need to go here in the object properties and change it from here and press P. Okay, now we see that the color has changed, and let's move this here. Okay, now let's make some copies of these objects. Shift D and G, Y, and we are going to need 4 keys for our game, and I'm going to add a lamp, a hemi lamp. Alright, and let's move this a little here and press Alt H now. Alright, and here, and change not this, change this to continue, this to load. To change the text, just press the tab to enter the edit mode and change the text. Okay, here that will be our menu, and what we are going to do is that whenever we launch the game, we are going to see this screen here where we can start a new game. We can continue, and I have to correct this. We can continue the game, which means we will load. We will use the autosave system, or we can load a specific save we have created. So we need to create a save routine, of course, and last we have the option to end to quit the game. So let's create the script for these options, and again I'm going to create a new script, and I'm going to attach it to the main camera, because it's easier for me to track my scripts if they are attached to my camera. I'm going to name this script menu, and I'm going to create a mouse sensor. Let's call it MO, and change it to mouse over any, and activate the positive pulse mode, and here Python and menu. Okay, let's go for, let's say, the main script, and pick these lines here, and I don't think I need the screencast keys. Okay, pick these lines here and copy and paste them here. What I'm going to need is, I don't think I'm going to need this nor this, but what I'm going to, and not this, what I'm going to need is these lines here, and I'm not sure if I'm going to need this, so let's delete these two. what I'm going to need is the sensor mouse over, which I haven't still connected with my controller, and furthermore I'm going to need a scene actuator that it's going to set a new scene, the game scene. Okay, let's start writing some code. Oh no, before I write code, and let's set the scene a variable which will hold the actuator named scene. Okay, this actuator here is assigned to the scene variable, and now let's write some code. Okay, and what we want is whenever we click on a menu item, we want to execute some code. And let's steal some more code from here and paste it to the menu script. Okay, now here we have, if we left click the mouse and the mouse hits an object, which means we won't left click in empty space. And furthermore, we're going to check whether this item is a menu item. Okay, remember that the 4 buttons have a menu item property. So let's check for menu item in mo hit object. What we're going to do next is we're going to check which button was pressed. Okay, so if the string of mo hit object, I think that instead of mo hit object you can write mo hit object dot name. I'm not sure, so I'm going to use the string command here. The string of mo hit object is equal to new, then print new, and I'm going to do the same for the rest. And this is not if, it's, let's say, let's write elif, and new load, no, not load, continue, sorry, load and quit. Okay, and furthermore I have to change the names. This one is new, this one is continue. Okay, I'm changing the name of the buttons, not the name of the text, and here I have a small grammar mistake. Okay, so I'm changing the name of the buttons, not the name of the texts. The name of the text, I don't care what the name of the object of the text will be, just the name of the button. This one will be new, continue, load and quit. Let's see if everything works as it's supposed to work. Press P and press OK. We need the mouse, so we're going to import the rasterize module, and from rasterize we're going to show mouse 1. This will show our mouse cursor. Okay, now if I click these buttons, I expect to see in the console nothing. Yes, apparently I need this line here to set the controller. And press P again, and new, continue, load and quit. Okay, new. Yes, I haven't changed these lines to new, load and quit. Okay, press P, check again, and hooray, new, continue, load, and quit. Okay, so by pressing the corresponding keys, the part of the code for each button is executed. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to write code for each button. First of all, for the new game, what it's going to do, we want for the new game to restart the game. So if we go to the init file, remember that here we have this piece of code which creates the bg config file from scratch. So all I have to do for the new game is to detect whether this bg config file exists and delete it. Then when I'm going to load the new screen, the new scene, the engine will see that this file does not exist, so it's going to create it from scratch, and I'm going to start a new game. So all I have to do is if, and let's steal the line from here, from the init. Okay, check if the file tutorial inv-bg-config exists, then os, I think it's remove. Okay, notice that I'm using the os module again, and I think let me check, it's os remove, yes. Let's go back to my file, os remove this file. Okay, so if I press new game, we are going to check whether the bg config file exists, and if it exists, we delete it. This means that when we load the game, the file will be created from the beginning, and we will start a new game. And let's see it working. And okay, we have this part of code, but we need another part of code which will be executed in the end, and that will load the new scene. And that will be here, controller activate scene. Okay, first we check for the button that was pressed, and then we load the scene. So let's see if I press P and press new. Okay, we see that the new game scene is loaded. And if I pick up things, okay, the autosave routine, it will be executed too, but if I press P again and new, the game is the game starts from the beginning. Okay, next we have the continue. We have the continue button here, and what we're going to do is we're going to do nothing. And why is that? For the continue option, what we want is just the scene to be loaded. And let's see this in action. If I press P and press new game, I pick up these items. Okay, I have them picked, and then let's press P and press continue, and what we expect to see is to see the items not on the ground. And yes, if I press P and continue, you see that the items are not on the ground, they are on my inventory. So the continue function works perfectly. You don't need to write any code for the continue button. And first let's do the quit function, which will be logic.end game, I think. Press P and quit. Yes, if you press quit, the game quits. And last will be the load function. And how this will work, while we are in the game, we can press the S button and create a save file. So I have to write some code here in the main script, where it will create this save file, which will be a separate save file, and not the file if logic, not the bg config file, but let's say something like a backup save. So keyboard events, and this will happen by pressing the S key. So go to tutorials for Blender 3D page, and here bg python game keys and alphabet keys, and you see that the S key, the code for the S key is 115. So let's go back here and add here 115. Whenever the S key is pressed, then what we're going to do is we are going to copy the bg config file to backup bg config file. And in order to do this, I'm going to import another module, the shutil module, which allows me to copy files, to create shutil. I think it's file copy or copy file. I think it's copy file, and I have to specify the source file and the target file. And of course, the source file is from the init file. Okay, it's this one, logic expand path, and go to main menu. So I'm going to take this file and copy it to the tutorial inv.bg conf saved.bg conf. Okay, and let's print game saved to check whether the code works. So let's save our file and load the game scene. Let's pick up this and press S. Normally I will see game saved here, which means that the save was created, the save game. And if we check here, we see that yes, the tutorial inv saved file is created. So we have our save routine. Every time we press S, we create a backup save file, and we can load it in our menu by pressing, and let's rename this to intro, okay, to have a name. And in our intro scene, if we press the load key, what we're going to do is that we are going to check whether this file exists. Tutorial inv saved bg config exists, and we are going to import the shutil module and use it to copy file, this file here to the tutorial inv bg config file. Okay, what we do here is that we check whether the backup save file exists, and we use it to replace the tutorial inv bg config. And let's see if this works. Okay, if I press new, okay, I have my new game, and let's pick up some objects and press escape, press P and continue. Okay, we see that the objects are picked up. Okay, so I will pick up another item, okay, and press S. This means that my game will be saved in a backup save file. Now I pick the rest of the objects. Okay, here is everything in my inventory, and next what I'm going to do is I'm going to reload the game. If I press continue, okay, we have make certain that the objects are picked up. But if I press P and press load, okay, you see that the game was loaded to its previous state, and this means that the save file that I had created with the S key was loaded, and it replaced the autosave system. Now if I press again continue, we see that the game continues from the restored game. And again, if I pick up these objects and relaunch the game, if you press continue, okay, you see that there is only one object here, but if you press load, there are 4 objects on the ground. If I pick up this and press S and save again, let's check again, load, okay, only 3 objects on the ground. And so this is the complete inventory system for the Blender game engine, and let's see it in all its grandeur. Okay, we press P, we select to play a new game, and what we have here is we have objects scattered on the ground. We can pick them up and add them in our inventory, and we can check the inventory, and we see that by pressing I we open the inventory, we activate the inventory, and we can see that the various slots hold items, and some slots hold more than 1 units of the same item. Furthermore, what we can do is that we can equip items. Here I have equipped the axe here, and furthermore we can drop items by right clicking. Okay, if we right clicked in the equipped item, the item does not drop, but if we click on another item, the item will fall on the ground. And what is more is that every action is recorded, and it's saved on my hard disk. So I have an autosave system, and we don't care if our game crashes or if our game if we make a mistake, because we have a save system. And except apart from this save system, we have a manual save system which works by, okay, let's see, press P and press continue. Okay, we see that everything is as we left it. And we have a manual save system which is activated by pressing the S key. So if I press the S key, I create a save, a backup save in the hard disk. And now let's say that I have picked up these items and I didn't want, or I made a mistake, or I am at a dead end in my game, and I wish to load a previous state. So if I press again P and press load, okay, the game loads the previous state which I had saved when I pressed the S key. So this is the complete tutorial and the final result for my inventory system created for the Blender game engine. And I hope that you liked this tutorial. It was it was a prolonged tutorial. It took me 9 parts to complete it. I believe I was thorough enough, and again I have to apologize for any language barriers, because English is not my native language, and there might be occasions that where you did not understand what I wanted to say, but of course you are free to ask, and you are free to make your comments, and you are free to propose other methods in order to create the inventory system. And again, I would like to thank you for listening to what I had to say, and thank you for watching this tutorial, and I expect your ideas for a new tutorial. And until then, keep blending and keep practicing. And goodbye for me for now, and see you at the next tutorial.